Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Florida. And today our question comes to us from Tika. And Tika has a question which is another follow-up to our previous vlog on the subject of egregores. And Tika's question is this. Tika first observes that some people would be frightened by the idea of an egregore and would want to avoid it at all costs. And in light of this, she asks, are there both good and bad egregores? And also, what is the proper use of an egregore? And to begin the answer to this question, let us remember what an egregore is. In a group, or a corporation, or a temple, sometimes a family, sometimes an office, a kind of group spirit will form, which is a blending of all the energies of the people involved, a syncing of those energies, which becomes more than the sum of its parts. Sometimes this spirit will be a kind of guiding spirit, sometimes a kind of defining spirit. One of the examples I used in the earlier vlog was Lady Bitterwind's idea that all governments are living entities that consume money and excrete paperwork. This is an example of the idea of the egregore. And every kind of organization can possibly have an egregore. Some of them are very weak, some of them are very strong. Sometimes it will not form. It all depends on the individual circumstances. But are they good or bad? Well, one has to say that just like people, they come in all kinds. And the kind of egregore that will form really depends on the kind of people who are involved and what they're trying to do. What kind of organization it is, what the idea of it is, how the energy is set from the beginning, and how it's built as it goes forward. An egregore is not some alien thing that walks in. It's something that forms naturally from the energy of everyone involved, and so everyone involved is going to define what it is, at least in its beginning. Not necessarily always later, but definitely in the beginning, it's the people who are involved and whose energy is syncing which is going to determine what kind of egregore it is, what kind of qualities it has. Now, having said that, the other question inherent in this is what exactly is good and bad? We throw those words around very casually, and as a society we have certain ideas that we would all agree on as being good or bad, but many others we don't. And you need look no farther than the current political state of the US to see just how variable those terms can be, where we have today two factions at each other's throats, each of which considers themselves to be the good guys and their opponents to be the bad guys. And that does kind of go to show just how variable these ideas can be. I've talked in other vlogs about how our ideas of what is good and bad have changed historically, but right now we can see very clearly just how starkly different they can be for different people. So in saying whether an egregore is good or bad, it really is a matter of perspective, depending on your relationship to the egregore. But just like people, they come in all kinds, and you might consider them good or bad, depending upon what exactly they're doing. Whether you would want to say that existentially is an entirely different question, because I would argue that there isn't necessarily an existential definition we could all agree upon. Now, what is the proper use of an egregore? Well, the best use of an egregore is to help a group to focus its energy together, moving in one direction toward the goals of the group, and to put into that egregore all of the good things that are wanted for that group, all the ideals that are involved in that group, and the directions that that group wants to go, and the egregore should help it to go in that direction. Of course, this assumes that you're building it intentionally, which is usually not the case. But if you are, then you want to focus on all those things that you actually want to have in that organization, and it should help it to stay true to its purposes. It should help the people to stay true to their ideals within the organization. That is the best use of an egregore within this particular context. Of course, there are other contexts, but generally speaking, we're talking about the egregore of a group or organization. Now, an egregore can also be created for other purposes, but it still basically would be used to focus several people's energy in one direction in whatever that direction may be. So, I hope that answers your question and gives you something to think about. And until next time, may you blessed be. Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you for Pagans Tonight Radio. Pagans Tonight Radio is an online radio network with different hosts and different shows 7 nights a week. There's something for every taste, including Spanish language programming on Saturday evening. Check out paganstonight.com today. Pray for peace. Pray for love. Pray for stability. Pray for the nation where you live. Pray for the world.